What is up, everybody? Welcome into episode 2 of All Say This with Chris Castellani. I am your host, Chris Castellani, and this was either going to be a really positive, upbeat episode, or it was going to be a remarkably depressing episode, because I'm filming the Michigan's basketball game to open the NCAA tournament, the first game officially of the round of 64. Let's fix this here. Take some technical difficulties here. That's better. The first game of the NCAA tournament, not including the play-in games, Michigan opened against Colorado State, and here on St. Patty's Day, going up against a team that wears green, so it could have been the bane of my existence, and for the first 20 minutes, it looked like it was, and that's where we're going to open today. Michigan basketball lives to fight another day. Michigan played as bad a first half as they could have possibly played. I believe they were down by 14, maybe even 15 at one point in this game, and when I watch a game, I think much like a sports writer kind of prepares their story as the game's going on, because you want to get it up as quick as possible, but you also want to be, as fair and objective as possible. When I watch a game, I prep what I'm going to say in my post-game video. And I was prepping what I was going to say when this team was down by double digits in the first half. And it speaks to something that I have brought up on multiple occasions if you watch my post-game videos about this basketball team all year, which is they do so many things that annoy me. They have players who go long stretches where they do nothing. The freshmen will struggle. Houston will brick three-pointers. Musa will be non-existent. They'll play terrible defense. They'll lose close games. They'll lose blowouts. But they have this really weird way of bouncing back when it seems like it's almost impossible for them to bounce back. The Indiana loss, when they blew a 17-point lead, ironically in the same building, against Indiana in the Big Ten tournament, that is a loss that so many college basketball teams would lose twice. You see it in sports a lot. Maybe not so much in football, but you see it definitely in basketball, and you see it in baseball, where a team has such a demoralizing defeat that it just stays with them. And for the first half of this game, that's what it looked like. It looked like the Michigan team that showed up in the second half against Indiana was the same team that showed up in the first half against Colorado State. And I was ready to eulogize them. I mean, I was angry. You ever get to a point where you're so angry that you can say nothing? You ever feel that where the words can't do it justice? You're just pissed. You're just peeved. That's where I was at. And what won Michigan this game, there's a lot of things that won them this game. Really, it was the second half adjustments, which I'll talk about here in just a second. But one of the big things was that you really got the impression that at the end of the first half, Colorado State had a chance to really bury Michigan. They were up by double digits. You felt like, given the way momentum was swinging, that they were going to go into the locker room up 14, 15 points. And they went into the locker room up 7. And that's what gave me a little bit of hope. I remember thinking, okay, they're going to have a shot here. They got to make a run. And guess what? Michigan made a run. And it's where, look, people get on me about Juwan all the time and how much I've not criticized him. I think I have, for the most part. Like, I was the first one, I think legitimately the first person to be like, he should be suspended for a long time after what happened against Wisconsin. But social media, at least my feed, I can't speak for the rest of the world, just does not like Juwan Howard. They want me to be really critical of Juwan Howard. They hate Juwan Howard more than they hate Harbaugh. I don't know why that is. Like, I don't know. People are weird. People are strange. And they always want me to attack Juwan, and the reason I haven't is because I genuinely believe he's done a pretty good job. He's had his faults. The Wisconsin thing, that was a dark mark, right? That was really, really brutal. But they came out in the second half against Colorado State and punched them in the mouth. The defensive adjustments I thought were amazing. The substitutions were great. But where this game was won, there's certain players that just stepped up. Dickinson was great, but Dickinson's been great all season. Really, he had about 4 or 5 bad games early in the year, which I don't really put on him. I put that more so on the spacing and the ball movement. He was great, against Colorado State on Thursday. I was about to say today, but this episode is going to air on Friday. This is the cross I bear, people. I need to keep track of what day it is. He was excellent. And Eli Brooks was tremendous as well, because I think Eli Brooks has had, objectively speaking, a very good senior season. But I keep waiting for the Eli Brooks legacy game, because to me that game for him came last year in the NCAA tournament against LSU. He was incredible in that game. I'm waiting for that 25-point Eli Brooks performance that propels, his status into the stratosphere, and we look at him as one of these, great Michigan legacy guys. And I haven't seen that yet. Maybe we will. With that said, he was tremendous against Colorado State, kept them in the game in the second half, and I think his ability to hit those mid-range shots, distribute, create penetration, drive the lane, made a world of difference. And that opens things up for Caleb Houston, who started knocking down some shots. And it opened things up for who I feel like was, to call him the unsung hero is stupid. He was the sung hero of this game. Frankie Collins was brilliant. Devontae Jones obviously out, concussion protocol. I have no insider information regarding whether or not he's going to be back for the game against whoever they play, whether it be Tennessee or, correct me, I don't even know who Tennessee's playing. It'll be Tennessee. But for that kid as a freshman who has played a fair amount this year, he's been the backup point guard this year, but he hasn't given him a ton of minutes. For him to go 6 for 7 from the floor with 6 rebounds and 2 assists, 14 points, that is amazing. But my favorite stat, though, 1 turnover. And that turnover was an offensive foul call that I feel like was a huge flop. That was a sensational performance. And these freshmen have been criticized by a lot of people. They've been criticized by me. For instance, I did not think Moussa Diabate played a very good game. He was 2 for 4 from the floor, 4 fouls. He did have 9 boards, but he goes long stretches where you feel like he's not even on the floor. But if these guys come back, I said this in my post-game video, if they come back, which I'll talk about this when the season ends, they would be crazy not to. We're talking about some guys who are going to be not good, but great college basketball players. Frankie Collins is going to be a 4-year guy, and he's going to be a menace. And when you look at the game he played against Colorado State, he didn't keep them in that game. He won them that game in the second half. That was a brilliant performance. And college basketball legacies get created in March, and I don't know what Frankie Collins is going to do his next 3 years at U of M. I think he's going to be pretty darn good. I'm really excited to see, the next step of his journey as a player. But for the rest of his career, he's gonna be able to say, you know what, I stepped up when Devontae Jones was out, and I gave Michigan great minutes and helped them win an NCAA tournament game. I've been watching March Madness for a long time. I've seen my Michigan Wolverines be a 1 seed, a 2 seed, a 3 seed, a 4 seed, an 11 seed, an 10 seed. There is no such thing as a bad NCAA tournament win. When it's survive and advance, you celebrate every single one. And yeah, Michigan opened as a 2-point favorite in this game. From a seeding standpoint, it's an upset, but they were a 2-point favorite. But when you look at this team that has been inconsistent as hell all year, for them to win this game, it changes completely how I view the season. Had they have lost this game, here's a little inside baseball for you. Had they have lost this game, the question I would have posed to myself and to the audience would have been, was this Michigan basketball season a failure? And the answer would have been yes. They lost the first round of the NCAA tournament. 17-15, failure. And through so much of this game, that's what I was saying to myself is, wow, what a failed season. This is a disaster. This is awful. They're getting boat raced by Colorado State right now. They have no energy. They have no passion. And guess what? They stepped up and they played really, really well. And there's going to be those naysayers. I know how this works. So we're going to say, well, it's a preseason top 5 team. Wow, you've really lowered your expectations. Yeah, I have. Because I have eyeballs and a brain and I watch the games and I understand that to view this team through the lens of it's got to be a top 5 team all year is nonsense. Expectations change throughout the season. That's the way it is in all sports. In this moment, this game, I thought was an excellent, excellent performance by Michigan. There's a lot to improve on, but it's why I love March. It's why the March Madness is the best postseason in the world, because you get that one under your belt and it's like, okay, maybe we can win 2. And that's where they're at right now. Let's see if they can make something happen. But the way I viewed this season changed with how they performed in the second half against Colorado State. I can't deny that. I'm very, very happy for them because I've said it all year. The one thing about this team that I think has been there all year has been effort. I've seen teams in my life who I feel like either quit or whose enthusiasm waned as the season went along. A prime example, Michigan football, right? In 2020, when they went 2-4 in the COVID year, I mean, it was kind of well documented that after the Michigan State loss, but especially after the Indiana loss, there were some people who were on the sideline there, players, even a starting quarterback who transferred and said that he would drop 50 points on Michigan if he came back. Guys who just stopped going hard, who stopped playing. There has never been any quit to this team. I've never doubted that. I think their biggest issue has been execution, and that's been on full display. And you know what? Not only would it not shock me, I kind of expect that next game we're going to see that team rear their ugly head. That team that's inconsistent from the floor, that team that struggles defensively. But you enjoy every single win in March. You have to, or else you drive yourself nuts. That was a great, great win for Michigan against Colorado State, and a well-coached game. I'm very happy for Juwan, and I know this team's gone through a lot, and they've struggled through a lot, but you don't apologize for W's. That was awesome. Moving on, and I have a lot more to say about this than I did the other day. Andrew Chafin signed a 2-year, $13 million deal with the Detroit Tigers, and I'm gonna do when I do these videos, when I do the show. It's not a video; it's a show now. How about that? I have a show. That's kind of neat. I'm going to be more analytical regarding my own content, and I posted a video after Andrew Chafin signed with the Tigers, a 2-year, $13 million deal, like I said, 1-year opt-out, and everyone freaked out because it looked like I was really depressed. Not so breaking news. The Tigers have signed lefty reliever Andrew Chafin to a 2-year, $13 million contract, opt-out after 1 year. Good signing. Yeah, the guy's a good pitcher. Good stuff, good sinker, good slider. Need to add another piece to the pen. They did it. I said this on my show the other day. I think the Tigers' pen is actually going to be pretty good. I like a lot of those relievers, and you have a guy in Chafin who lefties. He was a nightmare against lefties last year, and his stuff is fine. 3.30 career ERA, had a whip well under 1 a season ago. Also durable, can pitch in a lot of different games. I believe 70-something appearances a season ago. So, yeah, I actually like this pen. I think the pen's going to be pretty good this year. I know that's... And, yeah, I wasn't feeling good. I don't know. Nobody is as critical of myself as I am. The one thing that I will give myself immense credit for is I will not be phony. If I'm in a bad mood, I'm going to make a video where I'm in a bad mood. There is nothing in the world, especially when it comes to creating content, that I hate more than phony enthusiasm. That's why Barstool works. When you watch a video of Big Cat, at the NCAA tournament when Wisconsin makes it to the Final Four and he's all happy, that's real. And then when you watch him making a video after, Chris Chiozza from Florida hit him with a buzzer beater in 2017, he was devastated. That's why we work. Because there's no phoniness. I hate phony enthusiasm. I hate people. You see it in sports. You see it in politics. You see it in movies. You see it in Detroit all the time. Hey, the Lions just signed a 4th-string kicker. That's not me. I'm not going to fake anything. I know Opie and Anthony used to do this segment every October called Jocktober, where every day they would target a terrible morning radio show. Usually in America, I think they did a few in Canada as well, and every single one of them was the same. I can't stand that. I can't stand the fake, phony enthusiasm. Hey, we're going to talk about traffic. Who cares? It's like 6:30 in the morning. Shut up. So yes, I rolled out of bed. I wasn't in a great mood, and I made a video about Andrew Chafin signing with the Tigers. Now, in that video, I think maybe people should have paid more attention to the substance of what I was saying, because I railed off statistics like it was nothing, like I could do it in my sleep, which I can. 1.83 ERA last year. And here's the roundabout thing that I'm trying to say. I like this signing a lot. I think this is a great signing. I went on record last show, and I'll stay on record, by saying that I think this bullpen will be good. But the one thing that is fair is, outside of Tyler Alexander, who's more of a long reliever, and Gregory Soto, who's your, the flame-throwing closer, this team needed a guy who could really dominate lefties. You have Fulmer, righty, Funkhauser, righty. You have Cisnero, righty, Alex Lang, righty, Briefcase Joe Jimenez, righty. You have a lefty now in Andrew Chafin, who is an established reliever, 3.30 career ERA. Had a career year last year, and good pitch data as well. Great sinker, great slider, a lot of ground ball outs, and he dominates left-handed hitters. Now look, maybe Andrew Chafin stinks. Maybe he comes to Detroit and blows his diaper. It's not out of the realm of possibility. But I think when you take these signings in a vacuum, that's kind of unfair. And I think it's almost at points unfair to GMs and owners when you look at that. Like, there are certain signings that the Tigers have made. The Jordan Zimmerman deal, that will never make sense. It didn't really make sense at the time. It sure as heck didn't make sense in hindsight. This was a guy who had lost velocity on his fastball. Strikeout numbers were down. Pitch data was not particularly great. It was clear he was declining, and the Tigers signed him to a 5-year deal. Everything about this signing lends credence to the fact that this is a good move. And if he stinks, he stinks. But here's an opinion that's going to ruffle some feathers. And if at some point during this segment you hear a blow dart go right into my neck, it means that somebody from Tigers Twitter has assassinated me. Avila took over for Dave Dombrowski in the summer of 2015. And I will say from now until eternity, the first 3 years of Avila's tenure as the GM of the Detroit Tigers was an absolute, complete failure. The trades were bad. The Verlander deal was incredibly underwhelming. The J.D. Martinez deal was terrible. The Zimmerman signing was a disaster. The Pelfrey signing was a disaster. The Mark Lowe signing was a disaster. I mean, you traded all-star caliber players for guys who are selling drapes right now. That is a part of his legacy. Whether he wins a World Series here or not, that will always be part of his legacy. He'll never live down the J.D. Martinez trade. He'll never live down the Jordan Zimmerman signing. Those will be part of his legacy when we talk about Avila's tenure. And they dug themselves a substantial hole. They did. And I remember I said this in my last video in the 2019 season, the 114-loss season. I said, things are bad right now, and they're not going to get better for a long time. And truly, in my heart of hearts, looking at where that team was at the time and where the organization was and the talent or lack of talent that they had, I remember thinking it's going to be somewhere between 4 to 6 years before we're talking about a team that can even contend for the postseason. It has been just over 2 full seasons since that year ended, and we are going to enter the 2022 season. Expanded postseason helps, but we're going to enter the 2022 season with a Detroit Tigers team that I believe will contend for a postseason spot. And it creates a weird dynamic. Because does Avila deserve a ton of criticism for the hole he dug? Absolutely. There's things he'll never live down. But he also deserves some credit for helping this organization, for the time being, climb themselves out of this hole. And look, they got a long ways to go. If they go 75 and 87 this year, then he can go screw. But you look at the last 2 years of deals that Avila's made. The last 2 years, I would say post 2019, the guys he's acquired. Jonathan Scope is still here, and Jonathan Scope can mash. Wouldn't know a walk if it hit him in the ass, but he can hit home runs. He's a good player, solid enough defensively. CJ Cron got injured. He's gone, right? But that was, good player, right? He had a very good year in Colorado last year. You have Robbie Grossman, who's still here on a 2-year deal, who had the best year of his career a season ago. You had Eric Haas, who they took a flyer on, who, man, some people forget how bad this team was early last year. Eric Haas kind of saved the season with what he did in the latter part of last year. And you could say, oh, it was lucky, like they released him and nobody picked him up. You know what? You deserve criticism for bad luck. You deserve praise for good luck. Okay, Eric Haas was retained. That was a good move. Akil Baddoo, only 1 year, but you can't tell me that last year was not infinitely more fun because Akil Baddoo was on the team. That's Avila's move, right? Torkelson, Green, those moves, I'm not going to give him a ton of credit for. Those are top 5 can't miss guys. Skubal, that's his guy. All right, what was he, a 9th round pick? Coming off of Tommy John, and there will be people who are going to say, well, he was undervalued. Doesn't matter. There were 29 other teams that could have taken a flyer on the kid, and they didn't. The Tigers did, and he's here. The development of Matt Manning seems to be coming along well. Jose Cisnero was out of baseball for 4 or 5 years. Avila picked him up. If you asked me to rate his tenure on a pass-fail level, I would totally say it's a fail. Right? They had some of the worst baseball teams ever. Avila, outside of 2016, which was, kind of a situation he inherited, the Tigers have not had an above 500 season with Avila as the GM. So I'm not going to sit here and say he's done a good job. But I think that there are certain people, and this is the difference between me and a lot of other people, is opinions are actually fluid and they can change. That's why I don't like this whole culture that we live in where you can dig up an old tweet and say, oh man, I can't believe he said that. Well, things change. People change. Opinions change. GMs, players, owners, teams, they all change. You know, you can find any random take that some schmuck has had and make him out to be a complete moron. I believe Avila failed in his first 3-4 years in Detroit. But I also believe that to a certain extent he's learned from his mistakes. The deals he's made are more team-friendly. You will never see another Jordan Zimmerman deal, I don't believe, in his time in Detroit. He deserves credit for that. Now, if they're bad this year, people are going to hound him. But there's also the other part of this, which is that I think Avila has become a relatively tragic figure in Detroit. I can't believe I'm saying those words. But the biggest issue, well, there's a lot of issues, but one of the big issues I have with Chris Ilitch is that he's not open with the media. He pops his head out like Punxsutawney Phil every 6 months and goes, hey, I'm here, we're getting better, and then leaves. Whereas Avila, who is limited by Chris Ilitch's budgetary restraints, has to speak to the media all the time and answer their questions. Now, he's said a lot of things I disagree with. This rebuild has gone on way longer than it should, but the team is getting better. The signings are better. And that leads me to a rumor that by the time this gets uploaded could end up being truth, that the Tigers and Twins are currently in on potentially making a move to trade for either Frankie Montas or Sean Manaea. These are 2 starting pitchers for the Oakland A's, 2 very good starting pitchers for the Oakland A's. And as much as Avila talked about after the season he was against trading prospects, when you look at Manaea's contract, Montas is tough. Montas is very good. He finished 6th for the Cy Young last year, I believe. Manaea will be a free agent next year. You will not have to give up one of the big 3 pitchers. You're not going to have to give up Torque or Green. If they make a move like that, well, he would technically be lying because he said, I'm kind of against trading prospects. Go ahead and lie. I want a good team. If they make a move like that, that's a head-turning move. Because when I look at this current Tigers team, and I said it on the show the other day, I think they're going to be good. But I think collectively, as a fan base, we're all waiting for the move that makes us say, whoa, okay, we're in this. I know it was completely different circumstances, and it was coming off the worst season in the history of Major League Baseball. But I think Detroit Tigers fans in 2004 all kind of made a collective, whoa, after Pudge Rodriguez got signed. Now, that team next year was like a 70-win team, 72-win team, but at least the steps were being taken. I think this team's had a pretty good offseason. I think they've improved. That's the number one goal every offseason. Are you improving the team? They've improved the team, but we're all waiting for the big splash. I think many of us hoped it would be Correa, that huge $300 million signing for a franchise shortstop. You ended up with Baez, who's a good player, a risk, but a good player. If they make a move for a Manaea or a Montas, I think it collectively changes how the fan base is viewing the team. Because right now, I think every Tigers fan is kind of, they're not lackadaisical. They're too passionate to be lackadaisical. But I think there's kind of all right, yeah, we might be pretty good this year. If you make a move for one of those pitchers, and you look at the rotation with the 3-headed monster, Mize Manning, Skubal, Erod, and then either Montas or Manaea, you're talking about a rotation that I think could be one of the best in the American League. That's a huge step in the right direction. And truly, for Avila's sake, but, whatever, Avila's one guy. For his sake, but for the fan base's sake, for the organization's sake, I really hope they make a move like this. Now, hey, if they end up with Michael Pineda as a 1-year free agent signing, is it the worst thing ever? No. He's pretty good. He had 3.6 ERA last year. He'll give him 130 good innings with some strikeouts, a nice slider. But I think everyone is waiting for that huge splash. A trade for a Manaea or a Montas, that's the huge splash that so many people will be looking for. One last bit of Detroit-related news. This just broke. Matt Boyd, who is not expected to be back until June, has signed a contract with the San Francisco Giants. I think that's a really good location for him. Just put out a very kind, very genuine piece thanking the people of Detroit for his years when he was there. Matt Boyd drove me nuts when he was in Detroit as a pitcher. It wasn't so much Matt Boyd as much as the way the Tigers evaluated Matt Boyd under this belief. There's no reason he should have been pitching here over the last 2 years. They should have traded him in 19 when his stock was highest. That may have been the lowest point of Avila's tenure as the GM. And I don't know if he had Illich in his ear saying we got to keep him so we can put butts in seats or what, but that was brutal. With that said, that's not a reflection on Matt Boyd. Matt Boyd is a average to above average pitcher, and by all accounts, the single best human being in baseball. When you look at his charity stuff, just a class human being. Wrote a very wonderful piece thanking the fans of Detroit, and I'm rooting for him. I hope he's successful. Just don't be successful against the Tigers because it would drive me nuts. One last bit. I do want to talk about some Barstool news. As I'll do on this show every so often. I have a lot of creative freedom. Like I said, I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about. I played a game on the dozen with my team Out of Office with me, Reegs, and Doug. So we played a team against your mom, Jack McCarthy, KFC, and Rudy, and they beat us. I would say it was the lowest point I've had since I started working at Barstool. Look, I think I'm a really good trivia player, and the numbers reflect that. I'm in the top 5. I mean, I think even top 3. I don't know if the numbers have changed. But going forward, and this is going to be an issue, and this is where the anxiety is just continues to be a huge part of my life. My lack of a clutch gene is going to be, it's going to be there for a long time. The questions about my inability to get it done in the clutch are going to be, those are legitimate questions going forward, because I can't believe I missed the CeeLo Green question. I can't believe I missed the Jason Giambi question. We should have put him away, and I know there was some controversy, but it's like people blaming the officials because they weren't good enough to put a team away in the first half. We should have had it. So that was brutal. I'm not happy with how that went. That was my least favorite thing that I've done at Barstool. I lost sleep over it. I really did. I was very frustrated. That's why I was in such a bad mood when I made the Andrew Chafin video. I couldn't believe I missed some of those questions. All right. That'll do it for today's show. I think we got enough material here between Michigan basketball and the Tigers. Michigan State basketball obviously plays today by the time you're watching this. My next show will air on Monday. I'll record it on Sunday. And I'll talk about a Michigan team that's either in the Sweet 16 or season has ended. And I'll talk about whatever Michigan State has done. I'm an equal opportunity offender here. I will talk about Michigan State plenty. And if the Lions or Pistons or any of the other teams in the state decide to do something interesting, I'll talk about that. But going forward, this is going to be the material. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Let's get those watch hours up. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Peace and happiness.